Welcome, timekeepers. Thank you for stopping by the Marita Minutes. If you're new here, welcome. To all of those who have newly subscribed to my channel, thank you for joining me on my journey. Now, this recap is for Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 9, episode 9. Open house, closed mouth. I think that's what it's called. This episode to me was a little Martell heavy. I wasn't feeling it. Not that I dislike Martell, because I don't dislike anybody on the show, but he's not my favorite person, and I feel like he puts on an act. I think he's an actor. Even though he said they're all actors, I think he puts on an act because, I don't know, he bores me. And now they're making it seem like he's got so much things going on. Martell comes over there, gives him advice. His counselor comes and gives him. Girl. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Well, let's get into it. Scene 1. Okay. Starts off with Ken and Trish. She's in her office. And I think we learned this episode that she's been a engineer for 18 years. I mean, where'd that come from? Okay, makes sense how she was able to keep things afloat. Once Marquez left her, she was making probably a pretty decent penny. I think she is military, actually. So whatever it is, I think she got acquired maybe through the military. Because I don't know, did she go to college? I don't know. I don't recall her story, that background. Anywho, they're sitting there and they're talking, and Trish expresses to Ken that, she's tired of the 9 to 5. Right? She's close. Like I said, she's been doing it for 18 years. She wants to do what her passion is, and that is personal train. Now, I'm all for everybody going after their passion, but you got to make sure you're still going to eat and pay the bills. Right? And if you're going to pay the bills and make sure that, nobody misses a beat, like your children don't miss a beat. I mean, entrepreneurship is a big leap, but I admire people that can do it. I think I'm so conditioned in getting my check every 10 days, and I know I'm going to get a check every 10 days, given that I'm productive and staying in good graces with my job. I don't have to worry about, when my next check is coming or how much my next check is going to be. Right. So I admire anybody that does that and can go on their own and do what life they felt has called them to do. Right. So Ken basically pipes up and says, well, whatever you need, he said, you got the best multitasker in a man that you could ever have, because I can put things in place and help you get ready. And I feel so bad for Ken. I feel so bad for Ken only because I feel like Trisha doesn't appreciate him or doesn't even realize the caliber of man that, well, what he's portraying. Now, what she's getting behind closed doors, we don't know, right? But what he's portraying on the show, it's like whatever you want. If I can give it to you, I will. If I can buy it, I will. If I can make it, I will. Ken is there, hands down. So he says he supports her. He supports her transitioning into doing whatever her passion is, and that is training. That's her heart. So then Ken talks about, the cookout, the graduation party, and he thinks that they did a real good job hosting it. And Trish says, "You think? You think we did?" He said, "Yeah, well, what happened? What you didn't like about? You didn't think we did?" And her thing was just about Marquez. She said his whole interest was awkward, crazy, I think weird, whatever her descriptive word was. And she said, I just thought his whole interest was weird. And he was being very weird when he came in, y'all. Y'all remember he came in talking about I'm the daddy. Yeah, yeah, I'm the daddy. What? Who does that, right? So goes on and actually adds on to what she says. He said, yeah, even his toast was weird because he came in talking about, oh, we're toasting to our children and our wives. He said, well, maybe not our wives. But I don't know if he said that to make Ken feel awkward or he was just awkward. It was like either that or did he come in there? He must have came in there like he already had his toast before he came in there. Does that make sense? I feel like he might have been had already been did a little toasting because he was like in rare form to make I guess maybe to make him feel relaxed in front of the cameras or whatever because they're transitioning in front of the camera and they've not mastered it yet. Kim seems to be a little better, but Trish ain't. I don't know what's wrong with her. Both of them, her and Marquez, I think belong together. To be honest with you, but anywho, that's just me talking. My opinion. I'm entitled to it. So Trisha says that even she said she went to go do I think her daughter's name is Zaria. Cute name Zaria and Xavier. Is it Xavier? Anyway, her names for her children are very nice. Anyway, she says Zaria came in and was like, I guess she was embarrassed about how her dad was acting, and her thing was, I'm no longer calling him dad. I'm no longer calling him dad, and he may be just him. I'm like, wow, not just him. Honestly, I don't know. I feel a way that Trisha didn't say, no, that is still your dad, and you call him your dad. Regardless if he was a deadbeat, don't bring no money financially, doesn't visit the kids as often as he should, that doesn't take away his role doesn't take away his title. Maybe Ken has taken over the role, but that doesn't take away his title as daddy. That's who you decided to lay down with and procreate with. So there's that. But I feel like being a dad, and he's not a disrespectful dad. He doesn't come across as being disrespectful. If he's disrespectful, then yeah, let him be him, let him be Marquez. But if he's not disrespectful and when he's there 100%, um hey, just call him dad. I mean, that's the respectful thing to do. Now I have a lot of nerve because I didn't call my dad, but he wasn't around. I knew who he was. It wasn't until I got older he wanted to be in my life for whatever reason. I don't know. But he missed all my childhood rearings. But I always called him by his name because that's all I knew him by. Because he wasn't in the house that I can remember. He was in the house, but I was so small I don't remember to call him dad or even start saying daddy. You know what I mean? Maybe if I had started saying daddy, then it would have stuck. But because I heard my mom call him by his name, that's what stuck. And she didn't call him by his name, putting him down or anything. She just said that was your father and told me his name. So anyway, sorry about that. I rambled on. So I feel some way about her condoning her daughter not wanting to call him dad and calling him, but it is what it is. If Marquez can't get her respect back, then that's on Marquez. Marquez seems like he might be one beer short of a six pack himself. Anyway, so then Ken says, "Are you happy?" "I'm happy." And she says, "Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know how she acts all stubborn. Anyway. So, before I move on, the fact that Trish said that Marquez had been there all weekend and only saw his kids one time, didn't even come back and I guess get them or whatever. So again, after Ken asked her, was she happy? He was happy. He said, are you ready for to be married again? And she took like the biggest gulp. It seemed like she thing was like, eventually. As if to say, dude, how many times you gonna ask me? I said no, stop. And she has some hangups. And Ken seems to be at least understanding of her hangups. He understands that she doesn't want to jump in right away after getting divorced. She'd been married all them years. And he understands her hesitation. But his thing is, he's just all about giving his time and taking things slow, at the same time being serious. So I was into that scene. The next scene is Martell Holt gets a visitor from Maurice Scott. Okay. Maurice comes in and basically says, how's everything going? You know, the last time they saw each other, that was at that adult fun day at the park with Destiny that she organized. And they had that big blowout. Martell and Marceau had that big blowout. And I guess Maurice calls himself going over there, taking the temperature, trying to see where Martell's head is at. Because he felt like if he had come over sooner, that they probably wouldn't have been able to sit down and have this, one-on-one, non-confrontational discussion. Even though he wasn't confrontational with him at the activity day, he felt like it had enough time had passed. I don't know how long. Did he say how many? I don't know, maybe a week. I don't know. But he had said that enough time had passed where he felt like it was okay for him to come over. So he said, what's going on with you two? Like, what is it that y'all can't get together? Because he says every time they get together, then they break apart. Then they get back together. It's not quite the same. Then they break apart. And then they say they go with this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like they're going together pretty much. Break up with me and then you're back with me the next day. Yeah, no, I think that Maurice may have other ulterior motives that maybe why he's there. Again, Martell holds everyone's secret that he hung out with, right? They always had a guy's trip somewhere. And they would post them on social media. They would go fishing. They would go, I don't know, Atlanta, nightclubbing, whatever. They always, the guys always got together and did a trip. Anywho, I feel like Maurice might be there on a personal note, even though under the guise of I'm trying to see what's going on with y'all and why y'all can't work it out. Because his reasoning for what he thinks is why Martell and Marceau battle is because Martell might feel a way that he is not a part of Scolt anymore. And he's seeing that Marceau is getting business, he's getting work, and evidently there's signs a lot in the area where they're building. And Martell's lifestyle, where he does have the show, and he does look like he's trying to sell a house. I don't know. Does he have his builder's license yet? I don't know if he has his builder's license yet, but he isn't where Maurice seems to think he isn't where he thinks he should be. Because he said he remembers the conversations when him and Marceau were talking about building skyscrapers. So he goes on and talks about, how Martell seems like he is always getting back at people. Like he's hurting, so he hurt people. And yeah, hurt people do hurt people. And then he kind of segues into talking about Mel and talking about how she was projecting on him, which I didn't get that, but at the cookout at the graduation party, and how I guess she came up to him talking about his DUI and how her grandmother got killed by DUI and her thing. He said, "You're not going to project on me. You're not going to do what you do to Martell to me." Wait, what? What are you talking about, Maurice? So, he says he hasn't seen, he said he doesn't know this Mel. He said he hasn't seen the bubbly, happy-go-lucky Mel. He says he's seeing the tactical Mel, as if she's strategic and if she's into preserving her image. She's all about her image. He said ever since day one, it's been don't embarrass me. And now that she's been embarrassed, now I feel like I guess he feels like what he sees is the tactical Mel. He hasn't seen that Mel in a while, the old Mel, with the bubbly Mel. And then Martell said he had the nerve to say, "Yeah, that Mel be killing me too." He said, "Yeah, that Mel be killing me too." Yeah. So then, let me see what else is going on. Hold on. Martell also talks about how he rarely falls out with people. Like this whole thing with him and Martell is very rare. And I guess that's a fair statement because we haven't really seen him fall out with anybody except for Mel, right? So, I mean, he said if Marceau comes at him, he's going back at him. And Maurice was like, "Well, that's what you always do." He said, "Yeah, of course." Like, what is this conversation doing, Maurice? What is this conversation doing, Maurice Luther King Jr.? Tell me, what is it doing? Because honestly, I really think you're there so Martell won't tell on your stuff. That's what I honestly believe. That is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Next scene. So Trish goes over to Kimmy. She pays a visit to Kimmy because she's interested in getting some tips on how to venture or transition from private sector over to entrepreneurship. And, Kimmy, I think, is a broker now. She used to be a nurse. So I remember her saying that she was real comfortable with knowing that her paycheck was coming the next week or every other week or however she got paid. So she knows that struggle. So her thing was, well, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, just know that out the gate, you're going to be doing all the hours. You're not going to have enough money to pay people. You're going to have to grind pretty much. Her thing is, he said, some people think if you got your own business, you can take 2-3 weeks off. I don't think I've ever thought that. I feel like they have more downtime, but maybe not 2-3 weeks. You know what I mean? But anyhow, her thing was uh make sure that this is what you want to do. She said, make sure that you understand that it's only going to be you coming out the gate. And basically saying that it's hard work. It's very hard work. Anywho, Trish is excited. She's still excited. This is what she wants to do. She's made up her mind. And so she wants Kimmy to help her find a place to do her personal training. So Kimmy asked her, do you want to rent or do you want to buy? And she said, wait a minute, first of all, are you bougie? And Trish says, yes, I'm very bougie. She said, okay, well, number one, I can scratch off. That was funny. So she said, I do have another little place. She says a little less than $100,000. She was like, oh, wow, you know. So then they start talking about Martell's having an open house. And I think Kimmy asked her, was she going to go? And her thing was, well, this Martell thing is getting weird. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, open your mouth, please. I can't understand you. Anywho, um, she talks about that she tells or she shares with Kimmy that it was Chris Fletcher that hooked her and Martell up. And you know what? It gave me, when she said this, and then at the end, towards the end, when he's trying to tell the story, ain't nothing adding up. It tells me that Fletcher, even though he comes across as this good guy and is all in the know, he out there. They just ain't told their story yet. But he out there. Why is he looking at women for Martell? Like I have him calling Martell saying, "Hey, dude, you need to come down here. There's some baddies down here." I have Chris doing that more so than Snoopy. I call him Snoopy. More so than um Maurice. What am I talking about? Am I getting sleepy? Lord, when I get sleepy, I start talking about my head. Okay, so I said, I don't even know what I said anymore. Anyway, um, what did I say? She shared with Kimmy that Fletcher was the one that they tried to hook him up, and Kimmy asked, "Well, did he know that you were still married when he tried to hook you up? Did he know you have a situation?" And then she's just sitting there dumbfounded, like, uh, next. So, oh, this is the face that she gave. So, so Kimmy was like, "Does Fletcher know that it was you in the window? In the, I don't know." And then she's just sitting there dumbfounded, like. The next scene is Martell and his therapist. To me, this therapist kind of reminded me of Tisha, and I don't know why. I think maybe it's the complexion, but it's the round face too. But she reminded me of Tisha. But anyway, she said it was busy at her building. I don't know if they're doing new construction or whatever, but she said it's real busy. So the best bet. She's glad he came up with the idea for her to come to the house. So she comes to the house and she wants to know what his short-term goals are. And he basically says he wants to raise successful kids. And she said, okay, well, that's fine as a short term goal. She said, what short term goal do you have for you? And his thing was, well, if I tell on myself um, about, if I tell on myself, no, he said, sorry. He said, if I start working on myself, he said, I feel like my kids are going to be neglected. And I don't want them to be neglected. And the therapist says, why does you can't be doing both? Like, why can't you support your kids as well as work on improving yourself? Why can't it be both? And so he said, honestly, he said, I'm making excuses. He said, I really don't have no excuses. He said, I'm thinking maybe I could do it in the morning before they go to school. After, he said, I don't have no excuses because he doesn't have Sugar Mama being 5. Well, if you count Coleslaw Slow, he's Coleslaw Slow. If you call is that girl's name? It's not Coleslaw. Ariane. If excuse me, if you pass the Ariane check, then that means that most kids that I saw could probably handle, um, the Spider-Man stuff and all that kind of jazz. Okay, let me. God, I am sleepy. It is coming down on me like a ton of bricks. Okay, so let's see next scene. So now it's Martell's Holt's open house. This seems to be like a little cottage house onto a very huge garage. Like the garage is bigger than the house. No, honestly, look at it. The garage is huge. It's a two-car garage. Yeah. I don't understand the makeup. Maybe he did what he did. It must have been this little cottage that he bought, and then he added that garage on later. But I guess, I guess, there's the open house sign. It says Kevin. Kevin Mitchell is the realtor, and Martell goes in. That's the realtor in front of him, and I want to say that this lady kind of staged or helped staged the house. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But his house, the way it was staged, was actually beautiful. Yeah, the bedroom, the kitchen. This is like the little breakfast nook off of the kitchen. Off of the kitchen. And then this would be the living room, I guess. Anyway, very nice. Even though it looks small, I'm sure it was the angle of the camera that made it look bigger than what it is. But that house, I can see on the outside, it's small. I know it's smaller once you get in, but there's that. So then Kim and Maurice pull up. Maurice always pulls up in some fancy vehicle. He is something about a race car. Now, this is, okay or whatever, but he likes to get his cars wrapped, I can see. So is that the Texan Bulls? I guess so. But those are not their colors. So, anywho. Or are they? I don't know. I don't know what they are. But anyway, him and Kimmy come in. They take a peek around, and Maurice is like, "Yes, man, this is great. You really have an eye for talent, and this staged so perfectly. How much further can you get up there, Maurice? Because he hasn't said anything about you as of yet. I mean, I, f- yeah. I mean, yeah. It's very nice home. So Kish. That's their name together, Kish. So Ken and Letitia come in. Nell and Chris also come in. So they are all here, except for, the obvious Mel and her transition fur baby. So they're no longer here as a distraction. I can focus on my podcast a little bit deeper. Anyway, I'm so sleepy and it just came over me all of a sudden. Anyway, they're in the kitchen. So finally the guys want to go outside. And Kimmy's like, why y'all always want to go outside? Anyway, they go outside. So Christopher must have asked Maurice, like, where's his brother? And he was like, them two got into it at their daughter. He said, wasn't you there? He said, wasn't you there? He said, them two got into it. He said, just they had a little altercation. And then Martell thought that was like the funniest thing and starts laughing. But then I think Ken talks about how, he said, I'm not trying to downgrade or downsize anybody into what they don't want. She said, but he said, I don't want to, no, he said, I don't want to disrespect the man. I'm not trying to tear the man down. He said, but he is a terrible father. I mean, he says, I'm willing. He said, if it's awkward for you to come to the house and I'm there, he said, I'm willing to go to the gym or go up the street or whatever. He was like, this man is not a man. That's what he said. It's not a man. And I don't know what they were saying here, but Martell is looking at him as if to say, man, you trying too hard. I mean, that's the feel I got. I could be wrong, right? So but so back in with the ladies, Trish is talking to Nell and Kimmy, and she's basically saying that you know, she thought long and hard about this, but she wanted to bring everybody's attention. She said it was she was like, it was Chris that hooked us up. After that, Nell popped up. Anyway, in his confessional, he talks about Ken and how Ken needs to back away. Like he really needs to let that family heal and do what it needs to do and not be the one to cause resentment or make it seem like Trisha has to get a divorce because of you. Martell makes a lot of sense with this because he even says in a part where they were talking that he was actually, I guess, kind of like taking up from Marquez because he was like, you don't know what their feelings are. He was like, if anybody would have said, asked me, during the time, I guess, when they were going through stuff, did you love Mel? I don't know. I kind of heard it two different ways. I heard him saying it like this, and I also heard him saying he still continues to love Mel today. So I don't know what he actually said. I'll probably go back and look at it. But he said, shoot. He said that he thinks the Ken should back away and let time do what it does. So as the guys are talking, Nell pops out and says, you, but she points down to Chris, you are wanted inside because I done found out that you didn't hooked him up with Trish. And then Martell's like, like he got in trouble. So, they're all in there talking and, they kind of want to get to the bottom of the story. But as Trisha's talking, she's like, well, we don't have to talk about it here. Well, wait a minute. In your confessional, you was like, I can't wait to get to the open house because we can talk about what's really going on, like what's bothering me. And Chris says this cockamamie story about how he met Trish. He thinks her name was Trish. And, it's a lot of holes in that story. It's a lot of holes. And I think Chris is the main culprit because he thinks he's smooth, suave, and debonair, does his little dance and whatnot. Get out of here, Chris. You got the side eye from me. You got the side eye from me. And it makes me think, what did Melody cry about? Because there's a lot of things going on in this second half of the season that would have made me cry if I'd have thought that these were my friends. Just saying. Well, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Tell me what you thought about this episode. It was a little Martell heavy for me, but I got through it. I'm sorry that I was rambling on. When I get sleepy and I start thinking about other stuff, then the stuff comes out like it's part of the episode, and it wasn't. So hopefully I can edit my footage and have it up by tonight. Y'all leave a comment. Like this video before you leave the building. And everyone be blessed. Peace.